Hi, it's Kamon Reynolds. We're just getting into a couple of our late splits. Just checking to see what they look like, see what the food stores are like. Nice warm up today. I haven't been into beehives for, it seems like, quite a while. And just seeing how these late splits are looking. A lot of the big colonies are looking really good. Got a lot of food over here in this far frame, which is a good sign. They might need a little bit more. We still have a little bit of time. This is only about half full over here. So let's keep looking. Always keep in mind that what we do here you'll have to adjust for. And also a lot depends on the size of the colony. Obviously a 5-frame nuke doesn't need as much food as a really strong 10-frame colony or even bigger. So this is basically completely full. It's very heavy. I like it. Let's see if we have much brood. That's another thing we're kind of looking for. Just see what the brood's looking like. The bees have definitely slowed down in a big way. I'm seeing a lot of bee bread, especially in the big colonies, which is just awesome. It's exactly what we want to have going into winter and coming out of winter, especially when the bees are wanting to brood up in February. It'll just help nutritionally get some new bees. So I'm not seeing hardly any brood in here. I'm seeing a couple eggs down in there, but that doesn't mean that they're going to make it. A lot of times this time of the year, the queens don't necessarily, the queens slow down, but they'll still lay more eggs sometimes than necessary, especially when they're young first-year queens that really want to lay. And just because she lays the eggs doesn't mean that they're going to fully mature into bees. A lot of times they'll go back through and like, we can't expend this energy right now, and they'll cannibalize those eggs or larvae and conserve that resource. So far not hardly any brood to speak of. This is good to know. Every year's a little bit different. Goodness, I've had, especially big colonies, have a decent bit of brood in December, which is not ideal. Okay, we got some brood over here, but we're wanting to do oxalic acid vapor here in the upcoming, about a month and a half. Usually try to time it around December. We got some nice capped brood here. I'm seeing some eggs. A little bit more capped brood over here. You can see how tightly clustered they are. It's upper 50s, maybe 60 degrees in the sun. And they're just really doing their job and keeping that brood warm. Those are going to be winter bees right there. Got more capped brood. There's some larvae down in there that is just fixing to be capped in several of these cells. A lot of good looking healthy bees here. They're small, but I really think they're going to do great things for us, especially once we get around to the end of February, early parts of March, and they're just going to be building up really nice. My main concern with colonies like this right now is, do they have enough food and mite levels? And I know that I've dealt with the mites in these things. We've been checking them. We've got some good mite drops. When we make these splits, we make it to where there's a slight brood break, which helps every treatment be more efficient and more lethal. There's the queen right there. Wow, she has shrank down a good bit. Quite a bit. But she's still a really nice looking queen. Alright, let's look down in there a little bit. Alright, let's see if we can get a shot of this. Get some sun behind it, maybe. I don't know. You can kind of see some larvae, and it's kind of hit or miss. They're just not raising a lot of brood, and in the first few weeks there was just so much capped brood. Those queens did a really good job taking these initial splits that were about 3 to 4 frames strong and growing them quite a bit, and then they have shrank back down. Now these are carnies from Michael Palmer, and they don't want to stay as big and brood as late as some of the Italian strains that I've seen, but it doesn't mean that they're poor. Actually, in a lot of ways I think that might be really beneficial, that they're just a little bit more sensitive to the conditions around them. In theory, that means they should be a little bit more tough when things get a little hard on the bees. This is a really nice frame. Woo! About dropped that one. And you see that nice pattern right there. Even though it's not huge, It's extending over into here. Lots of foodstuffs. All of these frames have weight above the brood. That's great. They just are very reluctant to come off of that brood, and that's good. That's a lot of winter bees going to be emerging. We got a lot of pollen packed over in here and turned into bee bread. They're just very reluctant to move off of anything, and you can't hardly blame them. 60 degrees to a honeybee is pretty darn cool, but they can handle it. Yeah, really nice looking on this side too. I really like this frame. Very reluctant to come off of that, but you know, that's a great pattern. Really like to see that. This colony is going to do some great things. Let's just jump over and see what this frame's got over here in the next frame. Mainly food-wise, I could throw in another gallon of feed into these colonies if necessary. This is really a heavy frame. Just nothing but packed stuff over here of honey and bee bread. Lots of bee bread down in here. That is a really nice mess of bee bread. That's going to be very invaluable. I mean, especially those critical days in February where you may get flights, you may not. If they've already got a little reserve to add to the maple pollens, that's going to be great. This frame looks like it's got some on this side too. I'm liking what I'm seeing. So let's go over to the adjacent hive, and we've been through several of these down in here, and you know, some of them are stronger than this and some of them are a little bit weaker, but overall I'm really glad with what I'm seeing, and I'm really anxious to see what these girls look like come March. Let's go ahead and put a lid on top of this colony. I'll straighten that up here in a second. They can crawl in. They've got plenty of daylight left. All right. That looks really good right there. I'm seeing just, you can see all that fresh looking wax. They've built that over the last month. Almost all of that's in October, and where we fed them really hard, and that's really nice. Honestly, if you're not wanting to check brood and you're wanting to see stores, just start looking at your outer frames, and if there's not a whole lot in the outer frames around the bees, then that's usually not a good sign, and you can just go from there. Yeah, this one is lighter than I'd like it to be, so I'm going to give this one a gallon of syrup. That's almost completely empty. This side's pretty full, but it could definitely stand for a little bit more. Okay, this one's got more weight to it. Pretty full. Could use a little bit more though. Good bit of bee bread over there. Again, when these bees come out, start thinking about raising a lot of brood. It's still winter time, but in the bees' mind, they don't see summer, winter, fall, spring. They see day length, they see available resources, and once the maple starts hitting in February, and we have that increased daylight that starts after the solstice in December, especially by the time February is rolling around, there's a lot more day length than there was in December. The bees are able to know these things, especially once that pollen starts hitting off the maples, which some years can even be in late January if it's very mild. The bees start taking action. We've got a bit of brood over here, not a lot. Good bit of brood over here, you know, decent bit. Some fuzzy young bees. Notice how nice and grayish black these bees are. You can see an occasional bee like this one right here and this one here. A little bit more yellow bands. That one's up there, got a good bit of yellow. Then you got these that are more grayish black, more of a dull yellow. I don't really care if they're hot pink, as long as they're healthy and happy and all that stuff. Strong bees. New shirt, strong bees, wear pink. We can do that. No? Okay. That's just an idea. That's a good looking pattern right there for this time of the year. Oh yeah, there's the queen up here. She's also shrank down a good bit. I'm seeing a bunch of eggs amongst these capped cells, and they're emerging today, so that is really nice. She's just following the pheromone of that emerging brood and laying in those cells. This, it looks really good as well. Whoops. Sorry, bees. You just more winter bees on the way. Nice. Definitely would like to get this one a gallon. We're dropping down in the 40s. Make a really thick syrup, 2 to 1 preferably. And we're still getting into the 50s regularly, and we're getting some 60-degree days. Last week, goodness, we had some 80-degree days. It just jumps back and forth. We're really running out of time here, and most of our colonies have been fed up. It's mainly our little guys, or gals I should say, that are the ones that are needing just a little bit more attention. Just a tiny bit of brood over here, not a lot. Plenty of empty space for more feed down below. Looks like, I'm going to check this edge frame right here. Woo. About pinched one. Alright. That looks completely full, and of course these are closer to the feeder, so it's going to be easier to do just that and just fill them up. This one's mostly full, and they're capping that syrup. That's really nice. You can just see all that new wax right in here. It's great. So I tell you what I'm going to do. Buy me a Mercury. No, that's an old country song. Never mind. I've been listening to a lot of country music lately. I don't know why. Old country music, not the fake stuff. Okay, yeah, this is what I like to see right here. That's what I thought. This one's like completely full. It's a great frame. So I'm going to just replace that one with this one. This one's about maybe half full. We're going to stick this one right here. It'll be easier for them to take the feed that we're going to fill this up with and put it right here, as opposed to going all the way on the far side. This one's completely full. You know, these colonies aren't huge, but they're healthy. They've got a nice young queen. The mite levels are extremely low. They've got enough nutrition to make it through our winters. And again, we don't have crazy hard winters, but we do have the recipe for success in these colonies: great queens, dead mites, and good nutrition. They don't have to be huge colonies. I'm going to be putting some of that double bubble reflectic stuff on this hive and all these hives, and just giving them a little bit more of some insulative properties. A lot of people complain about me not talking about upper entrances. They might be very valuable to other people, but I don't find them extremely useful to me, because I don't use them, and I still have good results. I think attention needs to be focused more on quality, mite elimination, good clusters, all that kind of stuff. So anyways, if you have any comments or questions, leave them below. They're not the biggest in the world, but I'm happy with what I'm seeing. Thanks for watching this video.